A new face arrives at the galaxy's premier academy, but no one knows who she truly is. Part 1. The Unremarkable Arrival. The Celestial Accord Academy floated in the black emptiness of space like a jewel hanging in darkness. It was built on a massive station that sat in neutral territory, far from any planet or star. Three great powers had agreed to share this place. The Dominion sent their noble children here. The Crystalline Collective sent their minds. The Ancient Sovereignty sent the heirs of their greatest families. And sometimes, rarely, humans were allowed to attend. On the first day of the new semester, hundreds of ships arrived carrying students from across the galaxy. Luxury vessels decorated with gold and precious metals, military escorts for the children of admirals and generals, private yachts that cost more than entire planets. And then there was the small transport shuttle that nobody noticed. It docked at the far end of the station, in the section reserved for cargo and maintenance workers. A single passenger stepped off. She was a human girl, perhaps 17 years old, with black hair cut short and simple clothes that looked old and worn. She carried one bag over her shoulder, nothing else. Her name was... She walked through the crowded arrival hall with her head slightly down, moving between the alien students like water flowing around rocks. A group of nobles passed her without a glance. Their compound eyes saw her, processed her image, and immediately forgot her. She was not important. She was not interesting. She was nothing. This was exactly what wanted. The registration desk was staffed by an artificial intelligence that appeared as a floating blue sphere. It scanned her documents and made a small humming sound. "Your records indicate you are from Colony 7 Delta on the planet," the AI said. "This is a minor agricultural world with no previous graduates from this academy." "Yes," said, her voice was soft and polite. "Your test scores are adequate but not exceptional. Your family has no political connections. Your sponsor is listed as a local education fund with minimal resources." The AI paused. "It is unusual for a student with your profile to gain admission." Smiled slightly. "I was lucky." The AI processed this for a moment, then generated her student identification card. "Welcome to Celestial Accord Academy. Your dormitory assignment is Block 7, Room 412. Classes begin tomorrow at Standard Hour 6. Took her card and walked away. Behind her, the AI flagged her application as anomalous, but its programming found no specific violations, so the flag was filed and forgotten, just like intended. Block 7 was the oldest dormitory on the station. The walls were plain metal, the lights flickered sometimes, and the heating system made strange noises at night. It was where they put the students who had no money and no family names, the forgotten ones. Room 412 was small, with 2 beds, 2 desks, and 1 window that looked out into the endless stars. One bed was already occupied by a student who was organizing her belongings with her 4 arms. She looked up when entered. Her face was difficult to read, but her antenna twitched with mild interest. "Human," she said, "I am Chitra of the 3rd Nest. You are my roommate." "Yes, I am." Chitra studied her for a moment. "We're experts at reading body language. They could detect lies, sense emotions, and predict behavior with remarkable accuracy. But when she saw nothing special. Just a tired human girl from a poor colony." "You seem very plain," Chitra said. It was not meant as an insult. Valued honesty above politeness. "I know," said. She put her bag on the empty bed and began unpacking. There was not much to unpack. Some clothes, a few books, a small photograph of a family standing in front of a farmhouse. Chitra lost interest and returned to her own belongings. The first week of classes passed without incident. Attended every lecture, sat in the back row, and took careful notes. She answered questions when asked but never volunteered information. Her scores were always in the middle range. Good enough to pass, not good enough to stand out. She made no friends. She joined no clubs. She ate alone in the corner of the dining hall, reading from her tablet while the other students laughed and talked around her. Nobody noticed her. Nobody cared about her. She was invisible. But she was watching everything. On the 8th night, a fire broke out in Block 7. A heating unit in the basement had malfunctioned, and flames spread quickly through the old ventilation system. Smoke filled the hallways before the alarms even activated. Was awake before the first alarm sounded. She was out of bed and moving before Chitra even opened her eyes. Fire said, her voice was calm but firm, "Get up now." Chitra stumbled to her feet, confused and frightened. Smoke was already seeping under their door. Grabbed a cloth wetted in the sink and pressed it into Chitra's hands. "Cover your breathing holes. Stay low. Follow me." She opened the door and stepped into chaos. Students were running in all directions, screaming and pushing. The smoke made it impossible to see more than a few meters. But did not panic. She moved through the smoke like she knew exactly where she was going. She grabbed students as she passed them, pointed them toward the emergency exits, shouted commands that cut through the confusion. "This way, stay together, keep moving." In 7 minutes, she had evacuated the entire floor. 43 students, including 12 who had been trapped in their rooms. When the security teams finally arrived, they found everyone already outside, coughing but alive. The head of security, a large with scales and tired eyes, approached the group. "Who coordinated this evacuation?" The students looked at each other. Nobody was sure. Stood at the back of the group, her face covered in soot, looking just as confused as everyone else. "I think it just happened," someone said. "We all helped each other." The security chief accepted this explanation. It was easier than investigating further. But one person had been watching from a distance. Instructor was a human, one of only 3 on the academy's teaching staff. He taught tactical analysis and military history. He was also a former soldier who had served 20 years in Earth's colonial defense force. He had seen the evacuation. He had seen the girl moving through the smoke. He had seen how she positioned herself, how she directed traffic, how she checked corners before entering new areas. That was not the behavior of a scared teenager. That was training. That was experience. He pulled up her student file on his tablet. Colony 7 Delta, no family connections, no previous education, test scores adequate but unremarkable. He stared at the photograph attached to her file, a plain face, dark eyes that revealed nothing. "Who are you?" he whispered to himself. 3 weeks later, was walking through the main courtyard when she saw a confrontation happening near the fountain. A senior student, his crystalline body glowing with anger, was standing over a younger cadet. The young was on the ground, her antenna bent at a painful angle. "You touched my project," the said. His voice resonated like glass being struck. "You contaminated 6 months of research with your filthy secretions." "It was an accident," the young whispered. "I did not mean to." "Your meaning does not matter. Your carelessness has consequences." Other students had gathered to watch, but nobody intervened. There was from a powerful family. There was nobody important. This was how the galaxy worked. Stopped walking. She should keep going. She should stay invisible. She should not draw attention to herself. But she looked at the young, trembling on the ground, and she remembered something. A different time. A different place. A child crying while the world burned around her. She walked toward the confrontation. "Excuse me," she said. Her voice was quiet but somehow carried clearly across the courtyard. The turned to look at her. "What do you want, human?" Stepped between him and the fallen. "I believe the Academy has rules about physical confrontation between students. Section 12, Paragraph 4. The punishment is suspension and formal review by the Disciplinary Council." The glow flickered. "She damaged my property." "Then you should file a complaint with the administration. They have procedures for resolving disputes." Tilted her head slightly. Unless you prefer to have this moment recorded and sent to your family, I notice there are 17 active camera drones in this courtyard. The went very still. Then, without another word, he turned and walked away. Helped the young to her feet. Are you hurt? No, thank you. The young looked at her with wonder. How did you know what to say? I read the student handbook, said simply. It is very detailed. She walked away before anyone could ask more questions. But instructor had seen everything from his office window. He had seen how she positioned herself, how she controlled the conversation, how she used information like a weapon. He saved the camera footage to his private files. And he began to dig deeper. A new face arrives at the galaxy's premier academy, but no one knows who she truly is. Part 2, Cracks in the Mask. 4 months passed at the Celestial Accord Academy. The seasons did not change in space, but the students marked time by exams and holidays. Winter break came and went. Most students returned to their home planets, stayed in her dormitory, reading books and walking empty hallways. Chitra had stopped trying to understand her roommate. The human girl was quiet, clean, and never caused problems. That was enough. But someone else had become very interested in. His name was. He was the son of Admiral Park, one of the most powerful military commanders in the sovereignty, was handsome, brilliant, and destined for greatness. Everyone knew his name. Everyone wanted to be his friend. He had noticed during combat simulations. The academy required all students to participate in tactical exercises. They would enter virtual reality chambers and fight simulated battles against each other. It was meant to teach leadership, strategy, and quick thinking. Always performed the same way. She scored in the 65th percentile, good enough to pass, never good enough to win. She lost to the same opponents in the same patterns, making the same mistakes. At first, thought nothing of it, but he was trained to see patterns. His father had taught him to analyze enemies, to find weaknesses, to predict behavior. And he realized something strange. His losses were too perfect. When she fought against aggressive opponents, she made defensive errors at exactly the right moments to let them win without humiliating her. When she fought against defensive opponents, she overextended at predictable intervals. She never won, but she also never lost badly. It was like watching an actress perform the same play every night. Began watching her outside of simulations too. He saw how she moved through crowds, always aware of exits and obstacles. He saw how her eyes tracked movement even when she seemed to be reading. He saw how her breathing changed when loud noises happened nearby. She was not a normal student, she was something else. One evening, he found her alone in the observation deck. She was sitting by the great window, watching the stars drift past. "May I join you?" he asked. Glanced at him. Her face showed polite surprise, nothing more. Of course, it is a public space. He sat across from her. For a long moment, neither spoke. "You are sandbagging," he said finally. "Excuse me. In the combat simulations, you are deliberately losing." He leaned forward. "I have watched your fights 17 times. You always lose to the same types of opponents in the same ways. The probability of that happening naturally is less than 0.3%. His expression did not change. "Perhaps I am simply consistent." "Perhaps," studied her face, "or perhaps you are hiding what you can really do." She said nothing. "I have studied warfare my entire life," he continued. "My father started training me when I was 4 years old. I know what real combat looks like. I know how soldiers move." He paused. "You move like someone who has been in actual fights, not simulations, not training exercises, real combat where people die." For just a moment, something flickered in his eyes. It was gone so fast that almost missed it. "What would it matter if I were?" she asked softly. Before he could answer, every light on the station turned red. Alarms screamed through the corridors. Emergency announcements blasted from every speaker in 3 languages. Attention all personnel. Unknown vessel detected. All students report to designated shelters immediately. This is not a drill. Jumped to his feet. Through the observation window he could see it. A warship was emerging from its hull, black and unmarked. No faction symbols, no identification codes, just darkness shaped like death. The ship opened fire. The station shook as the first shots hit the defense grid. Sparks flew from overhead panels. Students screamed and ran in every direction. "We need to get to the shelters," said. But when he turned, was already gone. He followed her. She moved through the chaos like a ghost. While other students stumbled and fell, she flowed around obstacles without slowing. She was heading toward the administrative section of the station, away from the shelters. Followed at a distance, his heart pounding. Reached a restricted terminal near the command center. The door required high-level authorization to open. She typed a code into the keypad without hesitation. The door opened. Pressed himself against the wall, watching through a crack. Was downloading something from the main computer. Tactical data, defense grid configurations, communication frequencies. At the same time, she was talking into a communicator that he had never seen before. Shelter 7 is overcrowded. Redirect overflow to the medical bay. The ventilation there can handle twice the capacity. She paused, listening. No, do not seal the eastern corridors yet. There are still students trapped in the science wing. She was coordinating the evacuation, not just helping, coordinating like she had done this before. The station shook again, closer this time. The attacking ship was breaking through the defense grid. Finished her download and left the terminal. She moved toward the eastern corridors and followed. They found a group of students trapped behind a sealed bulkhead. The door had locked automatically when the alarm started. On the other side, they could hear crying and screaming. Examine the door panel. The override circuit is damaged. I need to bypass it manually. She pulled a small tool from her pocket. It was not standard issue. It looked military. "Where did you get that?" asked. "Be quiet," she said. "I need to concentrate." Her hands moved with practiced efficiency. In 30 seconds, the door opened. 8 students stumbled out, terrified but alive. "Go to the medical bay," told them. "It is being used as an emergency shelter. Stay together." They ran without asking questions and continued through the station, finding more trapped students, opening more sealed doors, redirecting more evacuees. The attacking ship continued firing, but the station's defenses were holding. Barely. Finally, after what felt like hours, the attack stopped. The black warship retreated back into as suddenly as it had arrived. It did not try to board the station. It did not attempt to destroy it completely. It simply left. In the aftermath, the lights returned to normal. Emergency crews flooded the corridors. Medical teams tended to the wounded. 37 students were dead. Over 100 more were injured. The defense grid was badly damaged. Half the station was without power. But it could have been much worse. Found in a quiet corner of the medical bay. She was sitting against the wall, her eyes closed, her hands folded in her lap. She looked exhausted. "How did you know those override codes?" he asked quietly. She did not open her eyes. "I read the technical manuals." "Those codes are not in any manual. They are classified military protocols." "Then I suppose I guessed correctly." Knelt down beside her. "Please, I need to understand. Who are you really?" Opened her eyes. For a moment he saw something behind her careful mask. Not fear, not anger, something deeper and older. Something that had seen too much. "Someone who has seen this happen before," she said. "What do you mean?" But before she could answer, instructor appeared. He looked at for a long moment, his expression unreadable. "Miss," he said, "the head mistress would like to speak with you." Stood up slowly, About what? About how you managed to coordinate an evacuation that our security teams were still planning. He paused. And about how you accessed a restricted terminal with codes that were changed last month. For a moment said nothing, then she smiled faintly. I suppose my luck has run out, she said. She followed out of the medical bay, watched her go, his mind racing with questions. But one question burned brighter than all the others. That black warship, that attack, the way it reacted like she had expected it somehow. What was the connection? And why did he have the terrible feeling that this was only the beginning? A new face arrives at the galaxy's premier academy, but no one knows who she truly is. Part 3: The First Truth. The headmistress's office was at the highest point of the station. Great windows looked out in every direction, showing the endless darkness of space. The room was decorated with artifacts from 100 worlds, ancient weapons, rare crystals, books written in languages that no longer existed. Headmistress Vila sat behind her desk. She was ancient and powerful, with 3 eyes that saw everything and revealed nothing. She had led this academy for 200 years. She had educated the children of emperors and presidents. Nothing surprised her. Until now. Stood before her, hands clasped behind her back. Instructor stood by the door, his arms crossed. You are quite remarkable, Vila said. Her voice was soft but carried weight. A student from a nothing colony with no family and no resources, and yet you knew classified military codes. You coordinated an evacuation better than my trained security forces. You moved through my station like you owned it. I was trying to help, Sid. I do not doubt your intentions, I doubt your identity. Vila's 3 eyes focused on her. Who sent you here? Which government? Which agency? No one sent me. I applied through the normal process. The normal process does not teach emergency evacuation protocols. The normal process does not give access to restricted terminals. Vila leaned forward. I have contacted your home colony. They have no record of anyone named. The education fund that sponsored you does not exist. Your documentation is perfect, but it is all false. Said nothing. I could have you arrested, Vila continued. I could hand you over to the or the for interrogation. They have methods of extracting truth that would break your mind. She paused. But I am curious. 37 students died tonight. Without your actions, that number would have been 300 or more. You risked exposure to save lives. Why? For a long moment, remained silent. Then she took a deep breath. Because I have seen what happens when no one helps, she said quietly. I have seen what that looks like. Explain. Looked at instructor. He nodded slightly, as if giving permission. 12 years ago, she began, there was a human colony called Nu. It was a small world on the edge of explored space. 10,000 people, farmers, teachers, families. Her voice remained steady, but something dark moved behind her eyes. One night ships came. The same black ships that attacked this station. No warning, no demands. They simply started killing. Vila's expression did not change, but her antenna twitched. The colony had no military, no defenses. People ran, but there was nowhere to go. The ships hunted them through the streets, through the fields, through the forests. They burned everything. Paused. By morning, everyone was dead. Everyone asked. Almost everyone looked at him. A 6-year-old girl hid in a drainage pipe beneath her family's farm. She stayed there for 3 days, listening to the fires burn above her. When rescue ships finally came, they found her covered in mud and ash, unable to speak. The room was very quiet. You, Vila said, it was not a question. Me's voice did not waver. I was taken by Earth military intelligence. They classified the attack. They sealed all records. Officially, Nu suffered a reactor failure. There were no survivors. She smiled without warmth. I did not exist. I was convenient. They trained you, said. He understood now. The way she moved, the way she fought, the way she controlled her emotions. You were raised as an operative. I was raised to find answers. Eyes hardened. Those ships came from somewhere. Someone sent them. Someone gave the orders to kill 10,000 innocent people. For 12 years I have searched for that someone. And you came here, Vila asked. To my academy, why? Because someone at this academy knows the truth. Looked directly at the headmistress. 3 members of your board of governors were involved in suppressing the investigation into New. They blocked inquiries. They destroyed evidence. They made sure no one asked questions. She paused. I came here to find out why. Vila was silent for a long time. Her 3 eyes studied with an intensity that would have broken most people. You are accusing powerful individuals of conspiracy, she said finally, without evidence. I have evidence. I have 12 years of evidence. But evidence means nothing if those in power choose to ignore it. Stepped forward. You saw what happened tonight. The same ships, the same tactics. They attacked your academy, killed your students, and disappeared without a trace, just like New, just like a dozen other attacks over the past 20 years. What attacks? Asked. Remote colonies, research stations, outposts at the edge of civilization, all destroyed, all covered up, all forgotten. Looked at him. Someone is systematically eliminating certain targets, and someone is helping them hide. Vila stood up slowly. She walked to the window and looked out at the stars. You speak dangerous words, she said. Words that could start wars, words that could destroy careers and end lives. 37 students are already dead, replied. Their families deserve to know why. Vila turned to face her. And what if the truth is worse than silence? What if some secrets are kept for good reasons? Then those reasons should be spoken aloud and judged by everyone, not hidden by a few. His voice grew stronger. I am not a child anymore, headmistress. I stopped being a child when I watched my mother burn. I have earned the right to ask questions. For a moment something flickered in Vila's ancient eyes. It might have been respect. It might have been fear. Instructor, she said, leave us. Hesitated, headmistress. Now. He left, closing the door behind him. Vila and faced each other alone. I have led this academy for 200 years, Vila said quietly. In that time, I have seen empires rise and fall. I have watched species evolve and go extinct. I have learned that truth is not always simple and justice is not always possible. That does not answer my question. No, it does not. Vila moved closer. But I will tell you this. You are not wrong. There are secrets being kept. There are powers operating in shadows. The attack on New was not random, and neither was the attack on my station. His heart beat faster. You know something. I know many things. Most of them I cannot share. Vila's voice dropped to barely a whisper. But I will tell you this much. You are looking in the right direction, and you should be very, very careful. Because the people you are hunting have killed to keep their secrets before. They will not hesitate to kill again. Are you one of them? Vila smiled sadly. I am old. I have made many compromises to survive. Perhaps I have been silent when I should have spoken. Perhaps I have looked away when I should have acted. She paused. But I did not order those attacks, and I did not help cover them up. Then help me now. Tell me what you know. I cannot, not yet, not here. Vila glanced at the walls as if they might have ears. But if you continue your investigation, you will find answers. And when you do, I may be more willing to speak. She walked back to her desk and sat down. You may go. Your records will remain sealed. Officially, you are still from Colony 7 Delta. No one else needs to know the truth. She paused. But be warned. Others will be watching you now. Others less friendly than me. Bowed slightly. Thank you, headmistress. Do not thank me yet. Vila's eyes grew cold. I have not decided if you are useful or dangerous. Perhaps both. Time will tell. Left the office. In the corridor outside, instructor was waiting. What did she say? He asked. Enough. Looked at him. Will you help me? was silent for a moment. He was a soldier. He understood duty and sacrifice. He had served Earth his entire adult life. But he also understood justice, and he knew what it meant to be forgotten. "Yes," he said finally, "I will help you." Nodded. "Then we need to find, he saw everything tonight. He has questions. Can we trust him?" "I do not know," started walking. "But his father is an admiral. He has access to information we cannot reach. We need him." They walked together through the damaged station, past work crews repairing walls and students crying for lost friends. 37 dead, and still no answers. But had something now that she did not have before. She had allies, she had hope. And she had a trail to follow. Somewhere in the darkness between stars, the truth was waiting. She would find it, no matter the cost. A new face arrives at the galaxy's premier academy, but no one knows who she truly is. Part 4: Alliances and Enemies. 2 weeks after the attack, the station was almost repaired. New walls replaced the damaged ones. Fresh students arrived to fill the empty beds. Life at the Celestial Accord Academy continued as if nothing had happened. But beneath the surface, everything had changed. An instructor met in secret. They used abandoned maintenance tunnels beneath the dormitories, spaces that security cameras did not reach. They spoke in whispers and coded messages. They trusted no one else. "I contacted my father," said during one of their meetings. "I asked him about black ships attacking remote colonies. He told me I was imagining things. Then he warned me never to ask that question again." "He is afraid," observed. "My father is not afraid of anything. He has fought in 3 wars. He has killed enemies with his bare hands," shook his head. But when I mentioned those ships, something changed in his voice. He was terrified. Nodded slowly. "That means he knows something. The question is what?" "I searched military databases," said, "using old access codes from my service days. What I found was disturbing." He activated a small holographic display. "In the past 20 years, there have been 17 recorded attacks on remote installations, colonies, research stations, mining outposts. All were officially explained as accidents or natural disasters." "And unofficially?" asked. "All were attacked by unmarked vessels using advanced weapons. All were completely destroyed. No survivors, no witnesses." Paused. Except you." Looked at the list of targets, names and dates and death counts. Thousands of people erased from existence. "There must be a connection," she said. "Why these specific targets? What did they have in common?" Leaned forward. "I had the same question, so I did some research." He pulled up his own data. 3 of these colonies were agricultural, 5 were mining operations, 2 were military outposts. On the surface, they have nothing in common. "On the surface," repeated. "But I dug deeper. I found old scientific reports buried in academic archives, things that were published and then quickly forgotten." His expression grew serious. Every single one of these targets had begun independent research into anomalies. The room went very quiet. Was how ships traveled faster than light. They entered a dimension outside normal space, moved through it, and emerged somewhere else. Everyone used it. No one fully understood it. "What kind of anomalies?" asked. "Strange readings, energy signatures that should not exist. Some reports mentioned structures detected at the edge of. Others talked about signals that seemed almost like communication." Shook his head. "Most of it was dismissed as sensor errors or wishful thinking. But the pattern is clear. When someone starts looking too closely at what is inside, they die." Felt cold. Someone is protecting a secret hidden in itself. "Or someone is protecting us from something," said quietly. "There are old stories, legends from the early days of space travel, explorers who went too deep and never came back, ships that emerged from changed. Wrong. Stories to scare children," said. "Perhaps, or perhaps warnings that we forgot to listen to, looked at. Either way, we are dealing with something bigger than government cover-ups. This goes deeper than politics. Stood and walked to the narrow window. Through it, she could see a sliver of stars. It does not matter, she said. Whatever the reason, whatever the secret, they killed my family. They killed 10,000 people on New. They have killed thousands more since. She turned back to face them. I will not stop until I know the truth, all of it. And exchanged glances. We are with you, said. Days turned into weeks. Their investigation continued. Used his military contacts to gather more information about the black ships. They were called phantom vessels in classified documents. Their origin was unknown. Their technology was advanced but strangely outdated, as if designed decades ago and never updated. Traced the funding for the original research. It led back to a shadow organization with no official name. Its budget was hidden inside other programs. Its personnel were unlisted. It had operated for over a century without oversight. Focused on the academy itself, 3 board members had been connected to New. 2 had since died under mysterious circumstances. The 3rd was still alive. His name was Governor. He was an elder who had served on the board for 60 years. He rarely attended meetings. He lived in seclusion on the far side of the station, in quarters that no one else could enter. Decided to speak with him. Getting inside was not easy. Governor's quarters were protected by security systems that should have been impossible to bypass, but had been trained by the best. She found a way. She entered his chambers at night, moving like a shadow through darkened corridors. The governor was waiting for her. He sat in an ancient chair, surrounded by screens that showed star maps and data streams. He was very old, even by standards. His scales had faded to pale. His eyes were clouded with age. But he smiled when he saw her. The survivor, he said. His voice was a dry whisper. I wondered when you would come. Froze, you know who I am. I have known since you arrived. Did you think we would not notice? He chuckled softly. You are skilled, girl, very skilled, but we have been watching for 12 years. We knew you would come eventually. Then you know why I am here. To ask questions, to demand answers, to find someone to blame. He nodded slowly. I understand. Grief needs a target. Rage needs a direction. I do not want sympathy. I want truth. Truth? The word hung in the air between them. Truth is complicated. Truth can destroy as easily as it can heal. Try me. Governor was silent for a long moment. Then he raised one trembling hand and activated his screens. Images appeared, ships, stations, star maps covered with red markers. 63 years ago, he said, I was a young officer aboard a research vessel. We were studying anomalies near the galactic core. Standard scientific mission, nothing special. His voice grew distant. Then we found something, a structure floating in the void between dimensions. It was massive, organic, alive. Felt her heart stop. We tried to communicate. We sent signals, messages, probes. Nothing worked. The structure simply existed, watching us with senses we could not understand. He paused. Then it moved. What happened? It reached out, not physically, something else. It touched our minds, our machines, our drives. His clouded eyes grew haunted. Half my crew went mad, the others changed. They started speaking languages that did not exist, writing equations that mathematics. They said it was speaking to them, showing them things. What things? The void, the space between spaces. What lives there? Governor shuddered. We barely escaped. We sealed our records, we destroyed our data, we swore never to speak of what we saw. But others found out. Others always find out. That is the nature of secrets. He gestured at the red markers on his maps. Every target, every destroyed colony. They were getting too close, asking the wrong questions, building the wrong machines. You killed them. His voice was ice. You murdered thousands of innocent people because they were curious. We protected billions. His voice grew firm. You do not understand what is out there, what would happen if it was awakened. The thing we found was not alone, it was a guardian, a warning, and behind it, he trailed off. There are horrors beyond comprehension waiting in the dark. That is not your decision to make. Someone had to make it. Someone had to take responsibility. Governor looked at her with something like pity. Do you think we wanted this? Do you think I sleep peacefully knowing what we have done? Every death weighs on me. Every life taken was a wound that never healed. But you kept killing. Because the alternative was worse. He leaned forward. Your colony knew they had built a new type of sensor array, something that could peer deeper into than anything before. If they had activated it, if they had seen what lies beneath. You do not know what would have happened. No, I do not, but I know what could have happened, and I made a choice. He sat back. Judge me if you wish, hate me, kill me, it will not change anything. Stood trembling with rage and confusion. Everything she had believed, everything she had fought for, suddenly seemed uncertain. Who else knows? She asked finally. We call ourselves the Wardens. We have existed for over a century. We answer to no government, no authority. We do what must be done. He smiled sadly. And now you have found us. The question is, what will you do with that knowledge? Did not answer. She turned and walked out into the darkness, her mind spinning with impossible choices. Behind her, Governor watched her go. Be careful, child, he whispered to himself. The truth is not always what we want it to be. Above them, hidden in the depths of, something ancient stirred in its sleep. And waited. A new face arrives at the galaxy's premier academy, but no one knows who she truly is. Part 5, The Revelation. The annual diplomatic summit was the most important event at the Celestial Accord Academy. Representatives from all three major powers gathered to watch their children perform in ceremonial war games. Ambassadors, admirals, governors, the most powerful beings in the galaxy, all in one place. It was the perfect stage. Had spent weeks preparing. She had shared what she learned from Governor with, and they had argued for hours about what to do. We cannot simply expose them, had said. The Wardens have operated for a century. They have allies everywhere. They will deny everything and destroy us. But we cannot stay silent either, had argued. People deserve to know. My father deserves to know what he has been protecting all these years. Had listened to both sides. Then she had made her decision. We do not need to convince anyone, she had said. We just need to create the right moment. The truth will do the rest. Now that moment had arrived. The great ceremonial hall was filled with hundreds of dignitaries. Hollow screens broadcast the event across the galaxy. Billions of beings were watching. Stood in the shadows waiting. Was in the audience, sitting near his father. Admiral Park looked uncomfortable, as if he sensed something wrong but could not identify it. Instructor was in the control room, ready to execute their plan. Headmistress Vila sat on the main stage, her three eyes scanning the crowd. She knew something was coming. She had given a warning look when she entered the hall, but she had done nothing to stop it. Perhaps she wanted this. Perhaps she was tired of secrets too. The war games began. Students from each faction demonstrated their skills in simulated combat. Crowds cheered. Dignitaries applauded. Everything proceeded according to tradition. Then the black ship appeared. It emerged from directly above the station. Alarms screamed. Security forces scrambled. The audience erupted in panic. But the ship did not attack. Instead, it broadcast a signal. Every screen in the hall went dark, then lit up with a single image. A human face, old-haired, wearing the uniform of Earth's first expansion fleet, an organization that had been officially disbanded a century ago. Children of the Accord, the man said. His voice was calm and measured. You have been lied to. The crowd went silent. Your governments, your military leaders, your parents, they have all kept secrets from you, secrets that have cost thousands of lives. The man paused. My name is Admiral. I am the current leader of an organization called the Wardens, and tonight I will tell you the truth. Footage appeared on the screens. Ancient recordings, grainy and distorted. They showed ships exploring. They showed energy readings, that explanation. They showed something massive emerging from the void. 60 years ago, Admiral continued, we made contact with something beyond our understanding, a presence that exists in the space between dimensions. We do not know what it is. We do not know what it wants. We only know that it is vast, ancient, and aware. More footage, scientists going mad, ships emerging from changed and wrong, signals that sounded almost like whispers. We made a choice, a terrible choice. To protect the galaxy from this threat, we decided to prevent anyone from discovering it. We silenced researchers. We destroyed colonies. We killed anyone who got too close to the truth. The crowd began to murmur, shock and horror spreading like waves. The colony of New, the research station 7, the mining outpost, 17 targets over 20 years, thousands of innocent lives, all destroyed by our hands. Admiral's voice grew heavy. We told ourselves it was necessary. We told ourselves we were protecting humanity, protecting everyone. Governor's face appeared on the screens, alongside images of other wardens, names and positions, evidence of their involvement. But we were wrong, not wrong to fear what lies in, that fear is real. What waits there is beyond anything we can comprehend. He paused. We were wrong to decide alone, wrong to take that choice from everyone else, wrong to build an empire of lies and call it protection. The screen showed one final image, a structure floating in darkness, organic, massive, alive. This is what we have been hiding. This is what sleeps in the void between stars. And now, after a century of silence, we have decided that you deserve to know. The broadcast ended. For a long moment, the hall was completely silent. Then chaos erupted. Dignitaries shouted accusations. Security forces tried to maintain order. Students cried and screamed. The carefully controlled world of the Celestial Accord Academy shattered into a million pieces. In the midst of the chaos, stepped forward. She walked to the center of the stage, her footsteps echoing in the sudden silence that fell around her. She was small and plain and unremarkable, but somehow everyone stopped to look at her. My name is, she said. Her voice was soft but carried to every corner of the hall. 12 years ago, I was 6 years old. I lived on New with my mother and father and little brother. We had a farm. We grew vegetables. We were happy. She paused, her eyes sweeping across the crowd. One night ships came, black ships with no markings. They burned everything. My mother pushed me into a drainage pipe and told me to stay hidden no matter what. I heard her screaming as she died. Her voice did not waver. I stayed in that pipe for 3 days. When rescuers finally came, they told me there had been an accident, a reactor failure. Everyone was dead and it was nobody's fault. Tears were falling in the audience now. Even the hard-faced admirals and governors looked shaken. For 12 years I was told that I was imagining things, that my memories were wrong, that the ships I saw were just trauma and imagination. His voice grew stronger. But I was not wrong. I saw what I saw, I remember what I remember, and tonight finally the truth has been spoken. She turned to look at Headmistress Vila, who sat frozen on the stage. The wardens believed they were protecting us. Maybe they were right to be afraid. Maybe there really is something terrible hiding in, shook her head. But that does not excuse murder. That does not justify genocide. They killed children in their beds and called it necessary. They burned families alive and called it protection. She faced the crowd again. No more secrets, no more acceptable losses. Her voice rang out like a bell. Whatever is out there, whatever waits in the darkness, we will face it together, all of us. And inhuman, We will make our own choices about our own future. She spread her hands. Humanity does not hide from the dark. We light fires, we build weapons, we stand together and we fight. A fierce smile crossed her face. And if something ancient and terrible wants to test us, then let it come. Let it see what we are made of. Let it learn why species across this galaxy fear the persistence of humans. The crowd stirred. Something was changing. Fear was transforming into something else. Determination, resolve. Stood up in the audience. She is right, he called out. My father's generation made choices in secret. Our generation will make choices in the open, together. Other students stood, then diplomats, then admirals and governors. Headmistress Vila rose slowly from her seat. Her 3 eyes studied for a long moment. You have started something that cannot be stopped, she said quietly. I know, replied, that was the point. In the days that followed, the galaxy fractured and reformed. The wardens were exposed. Some were arrested. Others went into hiding. Governor died in his sleep, perhaps from shame, perhaps from relief. New alliances formed. Joint research programs were established to study safely. For the first time in a century, the truth was being shared. Left the academy and went with her. They had a new mission now, to find the wardens who had escaped, to uncover what else had been hidden, to prepare for whatever waited in the void. On their last night aboard the station, stood at the observation window. The stars spread out before her, beautiful and terrifying and full of mystery. Joined her, are you afraid? Yes, she admitted, but fear is not the same as surrender. My mother was afraid when she hid me in that pipe. She was afraid and she acted anyway. She touched the glass. That is what humans do. We feel fear and then we move forward. What do you think is really out there? Was silent for a long time. I do not know, she said finally, but I intend to find out on our terms, with our eyes open. She turned away from the window. Whatever it is, whatever comes next, we will face it as we are, not as frightened children hiding in the dark. Her eyes blazed with quiet fire, but as the species that looked into the void and refused to blink. Far away, in the spaces between dimensions, ancient sensors detected a change. Something had shifted in the galaxy. The silence that had protected these small creatures for so long was ending. And in the depths of something stirred. It had been waiting for a very long time. Now perhaps the waiting was over. A signal pulsed outward through dimensions that had no name. 2 words, translated into every language that had ever existed. We heard. The stars continued to burn, the void continued to watch, and humanity, as always, continued forward. Into the unknown. Into the dark. Forever reaching for the light.